Que pasa, Mufasa? Welcome to episode 11 of the Barbecue, Booze, and Life podcast. I'm your host, George, and in this episode, we head to the Yucatan Peninsula. If this is your first time joining me, this podcast is just about my love for barbecue and to showcase barbecue from around the world. A friend of mine once said, while I was speaking to him about this, he goes, well, I think we were talking about the Philippines, and I had brought up lechon. And he said, well, that's not barbecue, bro. And I said, was it cooked with fire? He said, well, yeah. I go, well, it's barbecue. So that's the whole premise of the show. I also share some, hopefully what you'll find to be interesting facts about each place we visit, and a popular cocktail from the region. Now, as I said, in this episode, we head to Yucatan Peninsula. If you're pondering to yourself, well, where is that? Have I been there before? The answer to both of those questions is 1, it's in southeastern New Mexico. 2, yes, you've probably been there before because Cancun is located in the Yucatan Peninsula, and it's a very popular tourist destination. It's a great place for college kids from America to go, party, get into some trouble, maybe kick the bucket, then their mom and dad go on CNN or Fox News and blame the Mexicans. So you've more than likely visited before. Now, let's head on over to our Facts Not Your Feelings segment and share some interesting things about the Yucatan Peninsula. For those of you that may not know, there is a famous crater site located there. So the Yucatan Peninsula is home to the Chicxulub crater, which is believed to be the impact site of the meteorite that would have killed the dinosaurs or began their extinction 66 million years ago. And we're probably next. So that's an interesting thing that I had learned about I may have learned it several years ago, but I'm assuming I had forgotten because I was very taken back by this. I did not realize this was the location of that crater. The peninsula also used to be the heartland of ancient Mayan civilizations, which, as some of you may know, reached its peak from AD 250 to 900. Today, you can still visit the Yucatan Peninsula and see some of these very impressive ancient Mayan ruins, which really showcase how advanced they were and how sophisticated their architecture was and their astronomical systems. One of the more well-known ones, which is one of the new 7 wonders of the world, is actually Chichen Itza. There's also Tulum, but Chichen Itza is a newer 7 wonder of the world, which, I think this was something that a Swiss committee had started a little over 20 years ago, and Chichen Itza became one of the new 7 wonders of the world. And it's an ancient Maya city, which is famous for its massive pyramid, also known as El Castillo, or the Temple of Cuculcán, which showcases the Mayans' astronomical accuracy and architectural prowess. Really incredible. It's pretty obvious that a lot of these ancient civilizations were far more advanced than we believe them to be. Also, the peninsula is dotted with thousands of cenotes, which range from underwater caves to huge pools carved out of limestone, etc. They're very popular destinations that offer unique swimming, snorkeling, and diving experiences. More notably, though, it was used almost as like a waterway transportation system for the Mayans. Some of the more well-known ones are Cenote dos Ojos and Gran Cenote. Now, earlier in the episode, I had already mentioned Cancun. With Cancun, there's also the Riviera Maya. They are famous for their beautiful beaches, luxurious resorts, and vibrant nightlife. Really, I would argue, underrated vacation spots in Latin America. And if you're fixated on going to Hawaii or traveling to some overseas beach destination that's 1,000 miles away, you should strongly consider visiting the Yucatan Peninsula for some of its beach locations. Now, the facts that I have shared with you truly just scratch the surface of the true wonders of the Yucatan Peninsula. You hear it, folks? That's our cue to go ahead and pour ourselves a cold drink as we talk about a more popular cocktail in the region, a cocktail that has a Mexican twist to one you already know called the Moscow Mule. So today we're going to feature the Mayan Mule. Unfortunately, my barkeep Enrique could not make it today. He was unable to make it in. Apparently he tried Taco Bell for the first time, I believe, or there were issues with his papers. I'm not quite sure what the situation is. I had a hard time understanding his wife. So I'm going to give this a go by myself. The Mayan Mule is a cocktail that puts a unique twist on the classic Moscow Mule cocktail. And why is that? Well, with the Mayan Mule, we incorporate ingredients local to the Yucatan Peninsula, and of course, which reflect its heritage. So whereas the traditional Moscow Mule is made with vodka, ginger beer, and lime juice, the Mayan Mule adapts this formula by substituting the vodka with, you guessed it, tequila, which is more representative of Mexican spirits and often includes other regional flavors. So here are the typical ingredients you'll find in the in the Mayan Mule, which of course, as always, I will post a recipe in the description. So instead of vodka, we add tequila, which is distinct for its robust flavor. Then you still use ginger beer, which provides the spicy fizz to the drink. We also add lime juice that naturally complements the tequila. And then there's some optional additions. So some variations may include a splash of orange liqueur or local flavors such as tamarind or hibiscus syrup to enhance the complexity and uniqueness of the drink. As always, as I mentioned earlier, I will add a recipe for this cocktail in the description. Now, what the barbecue I wanted to focus on for the Yucatan Peninsula was the Cochinita Pibil. All right, now I've had Cochinita Pibil before. It is excellent. My dad has also tried making it with fish, and it was disgusting. And I'm pretty sure the fish was raw, but he gave it a go, and it didn't come out. But it's okay. He's made up for it since. So if you couldn't guess it from Cochinita, the meat that is used to make Cochinita Pibil is pork. Okay, you want to use a boneless pork shoulder or a pork butt, and the fat content is the key to keeping the meat moist during the long cooking process. All right. You also want achote paste. That is the key ingredient, and the achote paste is made from ground anote seeds, spices, and sometimes includes orange juice. Now, with the mention of orange juice, you really just need some kind of citrus juice to make the marinade. Traditionally, sour orange juice is used. If sour oranges are not available, a mixture of orange and lime juices can be substituted. Some other spices you may find in it are cumin, garlic, oregano, cloves, and cinnamon, which really seem to be the basis for a lot of Mexican cuisine. All right. Then, of course, the banana leaves, which are used to wrap the meat, adding flavor and moisture during the cooking process. Now, the origins of cooking Cochinita Pibil, much like the pig we saw in Hawaii, it's all pre-colonial. All right, these are multi-millennial traditions that a lot of the native population enjoyed prior to the Europeans arriving and adding their own twist to everything. So we already talked a little bit about how you make the marinade. So what you want to do is, now that you've created the marinade, you want to prepare the meat, and you want to cut the pork into large chunks, and you want to thoroughly coat each piece with the marinade. Ideally, you let the pork marinate for several hours or overnight in the refrigerator to enhance the flavor. I am of the opinion, when you're marinating things with a wet marinade, the longer the better. The longer the better. Okay. After that, you want to wrap with banana leaves. So the first thing you want to do is you want to soften the banana leaves by gently heating them over an open flame or in an oven till they become peelable. Then you want to line a roasting pan with overlapping banana leaves. You want to be sure to leave enough overhang to later cover the pork. All right, so that's an important note. You want to make sure you have enough overhang to cover the pork. All right, because if you try to add stuff on later, it might work, but you're leaving yourself open to getting a lot more of that steam and heat escaping. Okay. Then you want to place the marinated pork on the banana leaves and pour any excess marinade over the pork. Okay. After you've done that, you want to carefully wrap the pork with the banana leaves, ensuring that it's fully covered and sealed. And that is the important part of the overhang. You can add more banana leaves later, but it's not going to have a tight seal. So there's a traditional method of cooking the Cochinita Pibil, which is in the pit. Okay, so it would be cooked in an open pit dug in the ground, which sounds awfully familiar. And you will line it with hot stones. Again, we saw this type of cooking in Hawaii. If you're aiming for authenticity but adapting for a home setting, you can mimic this, and I hate to say it, in your oven. But if you love your South Texas Bermuda grass or St. Augustine grass, you don't want to pervert your lawn, you could use your oven, which God does not want you to do that. But if you have no other options, that's what you have available to you. So if you're going the oven method, you want to set your oven to around 325 degrees Fahrenheit. Then you would place the wrapped pork in the roasting pan and cover tightly with foil to ensure that no heat steam escapes instead of using banana leaves. You'll cook it for about 3 to 4 hours or until the pork is very tender and you can easily pull it apart with a fork. Final steps. All right. Once cooked, remove the pork from the oven or your pit. Open the banana leaves and shred the pork while it's still hot, mixing it with the cooked marinade and juices. Traditionally, the Cochinita Pibil is served with pickled red onions and habanero salsa, which provides a tangy and spicy contrast to the rich, flavorful pork. All right, I would recommend serving it on warm corn tortillas for tacos with a side of rice and beans. Arguably, this dish is not only delicious, but it's also a vibrant part of Yucatan cultural heritage, bringing a taste of the Yucatan Peninsula to your table. Before we wrap up today's episode, I wanted to thank you for joining me on this trip to the Yucatan Peninsula. Do your best to mind State Department warnings, obviously, when you travel anywhere around the world, but don't judge Mexico based on what you see on the news. You are truly missing out on its beauty, not only its culinary beauty or the beauty of its people, but its geography. I think Cancun is a great place to start if you want to get your feet a little wet. But you're really missing out if you're afraid to go. You're really missing out on a wonderful trip to the Yucatan Peninsula if you let the news bias make that judgment call for you. If you enjoyed the conversation and want more content, don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review the podcast. You can find it on Spotify, YouTube, iHeartRadio, and Apple. Your support means the world to me. So until next time, take care, grill on, and get your passports ready.